Hey everyone, it's Curtis here with KTF, and today we're going to be talking about the tournament recap for Tekken 7 from June 16th to June 22. So let's get into it. There were 14 tournaments that we're going to cover today. If you want to jump to a specific tournament, use the chapter list below. Here's kind of the week in review, which is our cover splash. And as we can see, Saturday was stacked while Wednesday was just a arid wasteland. So the first tournament we were talking about is the Vortex. This was a smaller tournament that's just starting up, as mainly that it's an on-site tournament. The entries are still kind of sitting around what we would expect, and there's a little information that's missing from the main website. It looked like there was $5 per person for the tournament pot, but I was unable to see anywhere of what the split was. But I think Ty won it last week, and then he won it again. The same thing with Commanda, and I think Blitz, it's still saying the exact same order of 1, 2, 3, while everyone else kind of gets mixed up in between then. So we're going to watch out because all three of those players are very strong. So anybody that's able to overtake them in that location is going to kind of be a character or a player of note. So we'll keep checking up on Vortex, and I think ultimately they're going to have a end of league final, but I don't have full information about that. Next we have ChiTek. So barring the kind of drama that occurred, rather than doing the commentary clash, which was kind of a team-based fun time on Fridays, ChiTek decided to run their own ChiTek on Tuesdays. And so this is the first official week that they did it. So entries are a little low because more people are figuring out, oh, ChiTek is also now on Fridays. But we still had a lot of really good names that showed up. Shadow 20Z, Joe Crush had a really good run, and even Mac making top 3. And this was part of the Tekken Online Challenge. This was a Tier 4 tournament because they only had 16 people show up. However, this points definitely help out all the players. If you haven't checked it out, I can't say more positive things about Puppy Swarm and his stream and everything that he does for the community. So check it out on Fridays because right now it's the only game in town. Briefly, I talked about Evo East. I finally found more information. It was heavily hidden. It was a Swiss style of tournament, random seeds, and in the East, which was now 2 weeks ago, had 1,300 different entries. And then the finalist here was to go to the finals, which we're talking about. West, the entries are nearly half, only around a little over 700, in which then the winner of the West and the East were invited eventually to the NA final, in which this was more just an exhibition match, in which Anakin just kind of beat up on people, in which all the players received $250, so they weren't even really competing. It was just a first to 5 kind of fun exhibition match, and honestly, it was kind of like watching high school football and then playing against an NFL team for the exhibition. So not really great matches to watch. It was just a slaughter fest. Weird decision, but whatever. And then this is still flying under the radar. There's no reason this should have 14 players. This is a 500 guaranteed pot tournament for the reversal. Joey Fury won it last month. He won it again. And I think the entry stayed about the same. Maybe it was 12 last month. This is region locked to East Coast, kind of Midwest area. And so that might contribute to some of the numbers down. It's also, and now it's on Smash GG. Originally it was just a random Facebook find, but it's on Smash GG. It has a good pot size and extremely low numbers, and it's played on Saturday where most people are off of work. I don't know why this tournament isn't pulling in money. Are they that afraid of Joey Fury? That's what it looks like to me. But really great matches. This needs to pull up, and it looks like they're going to continue every month, just one Tekken 7 tournament with that $500 pot. There's literally no reason why there's not more of the killers that are trying to get money to register into this tournament, especially because I know you are East Coast folk. And then the unfortunate thing, Tennessee Online, this was advertised for about 2 weeks. It was part of the Tekken Online Challenge, but only 9 people showed up. So players were unable to acquire any points for this tournament. It was unclear if this was supposed to be a monthly. I didn't see any other records of Smash GG running it. But what we saw with City Breakdown is they were running 3 tournaments in a weekly succession. They applied for the Tekken Online Challenge and they got less than 16 people, and now I haven't heard anything about that tournament series. So hopefully Tennessee Online comes back and they're able to pull in a few more folk to actually compete, but we'll see what's going on related to that. IronMANE had their bi-monthly kind of tournament in which a lot of great matches ensued. They were still just going to be a tier 4 tournament. I think the entries dropped. They were approaching 32 and now they're kind of under that 20 mark, but they were still able to pull in over $100, most of that coming from Max's pockets. But with that match, Reno, there's no reason to not go in to at least donate if you're not able to play. And a lot of good names have showed up. Bing Chang actually came in. I think this was the first time that Bing Chang showed up. Alpha is a consistent kind of top 4. And of course, our regulars of Joe Crush, VDX, El Negro, and Donnell keep making their appearances. This is a really great tournament. It's run relatively smooth for a one-man operation. And it's Tekken Online Challenge points. So it's a decent chance to try to get 25, 10 points here and there. You just got to get through some of these killers to actually get those points. BHOP had their grand opening. This was another on-site event. So if you're around Illinois, this is in Vernon Hills or Chicagoland area. And 15 people showed up. Not too bad for an online event. Kind of the names of note are Swagmaster showed up to this event. And it looks like they were planning to do monthlies, and there was no information of where it was streamed, restreamed, or anything else. I was just able to find the Smash GG link of having the current standings, and again we made the assumption that it was about $5 entry fee. It could be more, could be less, or it could have just been a fun tournament. That was kind of unclear, but I like that more and more locals are coming up. Next, we had NYC Tekken. I think last week I didn't put this on the radar because they submitted their information after I made the video. So, unfortunate thing with that. They were able to have a Tekken Online Challenge event and they get 16 people, but one person was DQ'd both rounds, so they only had 15. But for Namco's sake, it was a 16-man tournament, so people got points. And Alpha has actually jumped the leaderboard a lot, especially with the victory of this tournament. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And being at NYC, it is region locked again. We're actually seeing a lot more East Coast region locked tournaments that are popping up, at least on my radar, comparatively with just West Coast locked. Usually if a tournament's held on the West Coast, it's for everybody, but if it's East Coast, it's only for East Coast. So that's interesting that that's occurring that way. But we have a lot of other names that kind of showed up. Magic Kim has been already on a couple of our lists. Turtle BS came back. And if we already talked about Alpha. We'll try to have NYC Tekken kind of more on the map. I think it's in a monthly format or every other week. So we're going to come back and hopefully you can score at least some tier 4 points. Iron Sherpa is continuing their league. We're getting closer and closer to the grand finals. And as I said, I'll take some time once we get kind of the week in advance to plot out everything and just talk about how that tournament series went around. The big thing that stood out to me was that not only did Silence win it, but he he went on a massive run. Silence is a phenomenal player, but he's usually been finishing in about 5th, 7th place around there. But this time, I mean, he just murdered El Negro and Jumanji and went on that big tear. So he was having a really great day. Really great matches if you want to go to Triple Victory and rewatch them for sure. Cyberstun City continued on with their league on Mondays. Again, this was kind of the only tournament on Mondays, so if you don't have work or you're able to join, this is a really great one. Again, Alpha came up to the victory, so he stole a bunch of these tier 4 tournament points for the Tekken Online Challenge. Shadow coming in second, and of course Mac logging into every single tournament that he can. I mean, massive killers, and Alpha had a really great week for sure when it's related to points. Then we have the East Coast Community Throwdown. This is again they try to make information extremely hard to find. This was essentially just a Facebook entry. They never made a challenge or a Smash GG or anything else. I think for proprietary reasons, they want to maintain everything within them, but that also makes it extremely hard to market their information. But if they want to just really focus on that super regional things, I guess you can. This was region locked again, as we talked about. East Coast likes to region lock, in which they were able to have $500 going into the main pot. You can still find the VODs on Facebook.com, the Roadrunner Records, and you can watch all the action there. I'm not a big fan of Facebook as a primary format. Other than that, the top 3 that were posted were Mac, Joe, Fury, and Ty, and everything else you had to go back and watch each individual match, and I'm not going to make their brackets for them. I'm just making the summary of all the brackets within this quick summary. So it looks like it's going to be monthly, so we'll stick around to see when the next time the East Coast Community Throwdown comes back. And there was no points, no Matcherino that I found. Just purely local bred talent. And then Tuesday happened. We had a lot of tournaments happening here. Fighting Gameworks happened again. They were able to have even fewer entries, so they jumped up to above 60, and then they were about 40, and now we're at 20 because of competitions. They implemented a new rule for this week that if you can only be entered in at one tournament at a time for that time block, because they don't want a conflict of interest as it pertains to the flow of this stream. So unfortunately, of the 21 people that entered, there were still about 6 or so that were DQ'd round 1 because they were entered in another tournament that we're going to talk about. With all that said, they were still able to raise a good amount of money, and we're not going to talk about it now, but the expected value actually shows that you should play in Fighting Games Workshop compared to other tournament, but that's for another topic. The big kind of sneaky hit was the Kiku, the player in 5th. He had an awesome run and nearly had player of the week just based on how he played, how he adapted his Kunimitsu and everything else. Showed a variety of different play styles. And Ace Unlimited, who I had hoping to win it, unfortunately he reset the bracket but was unable to take it. Really great matches. It was actually very hard to look away from, basically for the whole top 8, which was quickly blown through. So you still need to sign up for it. They've been running these tournaments now forever, and Games Workshop Gamesworks, now that they've opened up, have continued on with prize support, which is going to be every week and non-league based and all that fun stuff. So you need to check it out, because now players are coming out of the woodworks too, which is really fascinating. Then we had the Bud Light League number 2. This is sitting around 50. It's still unable to break over 64, but this was not part of the Tekken Online Challenge. So this is purely chasing dollars, in which Joey Fury came in and snatched the purse, in which Shadow 20Z also had a really great run. Same thing with Bing Chang and Mac in 5th place, so he didn't get any money this time. And Avery is starting to actually compete in a little bit more of these tournaments that we've been seeing, so I think he's trying to get ready to get into shape for these offline events, which is going to be really fun. And that's Junia, not. And we also had AccuMajor making his appearance. So, I mean, this was purely killers that are clearly looking at just trying to take Bud Light's money. Really, these type of tournaments, if you are not top 16 material, this is a fixed pot, so there's no incentive to try to increase it. That's why we're saying if you are essentially not these 8 names and 8 additional names that I've mentioned previously, there's almost no reason to compete in here. Your expected value of winning the tournament is so low. Let these killers fight amongst themselves, and you have a better chance of entering in another tournament that scales a lot more, or that scales completely. This doesn't scale at all. There's no reason that entry numbers should be above 32 ever for these type of tournaments, yet here we all are at 54. So that kind of our roundup of the tournament rankings. Obviously, Evo pulled in the most amount of money just because of the vast amount of tournaments that they held, followed by the reversal, which only had 14 people in it, and they have one of the best ratios. Bud Light was also really high. Fighting Games Works then came in fourth, but that is scaling, so that can pull up. But overall, and I was unable to find any information about the Tennessee and East Coast Throwdown, which is why they're slotted in last place. I can't even make an estimate of what they pulled in based on their numbers are missing or based on the payout are missing altogether. But a lot of good stuff overall when it came to the tournament. Our average was 31 for this week, so this was a really good average. But because of the finals for Evo and everything else, that kind of stacked the cards in their favor. So the player of the week is Damus. He was in a couple tournaments and just had really phenomenal play. I mean, just taking out killers. Unable to get first place ever, but he also used a variety of Kunimitsu, and then when he needed to, he pulled out the Jack 7 and just had a really great run. I had another player in mind for player of the week, but actually watching Damus play, I just had to give it to him just of the amount of work that he put in, and it was just really impressive. So if you want to go back, especially for the Fighting Games Works, that was just a phenomenal play by him, and so check him out. Next, we're going to talk about the Tekken Online Challenge. Again, these are the point spreads, and we call Tier M, which is our bonus points, and then Tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4, based on how many people are entered. The adjusted rankings are as follows. Mac is still in first place with only 120 points, so all those top 8 finishes that he had this week actually didn't help him at all with his Tekken rankings, and he's still kind of in a slight vulnerable place, especially because we're expecting our first Tier 1 tournament to happen tonight in a few hours from this video with ICFC. Shadow was able to jump up a couple places, as well as Alpha, which pulled down Emily just a little bit, but she's kind of in the running. These names are going to fluctuate majorly within the next couple weeks, especially if we have that Tier 1 event tonight. And with ICFC running more regularly with their Season 3, these numbers are going to shift a lot, especially within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So take this with a grain of salt. Names are going to start getting bumped off. But in my other video, I talked about and showed the math of why you want to have about a minimum of 160 points with these dojo events, not including the master event, to have the potential of making the regional. So if you're interested in getting into the finals, check out my video related to that. And you really need to start looking at Tier 1, Tier 2s. At this point, Mac is just defending points at this time and just kind of getting in practice, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the majority of the tournaments that he's entering, even if he wins, it's not going to boost his points at all. So next week, we have, this is what the next week looks at. The big one is obviously going to be Secret Garden, but we're going to talk about that. So Season 3 of ICFC starts tonight. There should be also a Tekken Online Challenge here, so I'll fix that for next week. Usually they make about $1,000, and they'll have anywhere from 120 to 140 different entries depending on the week. So this is a really good event to try to get some points. And this is the only one, even though your expected value of making it to kind of the top 4 to make some money, or even the top 8, I still encourage you to enter in the tournament just to get into that Tier 1 bracket. This should be consistently a Tier 1 event. Thursday Throwdown is coming back. They took a little break. Now they're coming back. This is region locked to East Coast Midwest. So if you're available Thursday night looking for some tournaments, this is the tournament to go to, as they've been very consistent. Every once in a while they'll take a break, but still a great event. For you PS4 players out there, there is the PS4 Online Tournament that's happening. This is actually number 2 that's occurring, as we already reported on number 1 previously. Not much else to say other than if you're a PS4 user and you want to get some tournament experience in, Sundays, check it out. Last time they only had 6 entries, so it's a very small niche people, but people that play on PS4 are usually a little bit smaller when compared to PC Tekken. Ladies night, I know last week we talked about it, but there were large technical difficulties or a power outage, and they just rescheduled it for this upcoming Saturday. So if you are female and you want to participate in this event, I highly encourage it. I think right now it's just sitting around 12 entries. And that's going to be on NYC Furby. This is usually a really fun event to go, especially because the payout is a little bit different. The first place gets to pick 50% of the pot to their kind of charity, and then the rest of the pot money gets split between the top 3 winners. So that's a really fun format. So check it out on Saturday and donate to the Matcherino. Secret Garden, this has been blowing up on Twitter. I don't want to spend too much time to talk about it because everyone knows about it. 404 is having their Secret Garden June 26th. You either have your hotel and travel all planned or you don't. If not, they should be posting the link to watch it all on their Twitch. But this is the kind of pick of the week that you should go to because it's going to be awesome. Other than that, major upcoming events. Anakin announced that he's running a next invitational. He's running a tournament, and what's really fun about this is that it's a winner-take-all format, and it's $1,000. And kind of what I said before, only if you're a top 16 player should you kind of enter it. It's a fixed fee. There's no, if you really, basically if you think any of the names that I've listed in the previous tournaments, if you can beat all of them, you should enter it. If you don't even have a history of beating any of them, there's no point. Just let the killers kill each other, and whoever wins, wins. Doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it, but based on your time, just let the killers kill each other. Austenite Fights, we talked about this. This is coming up in July 10th. In-person event. So if you're around that area, check it out. Showdown, I still was unable to find out too much more information other than that it's coming out on June 11th in Ann Arbor. It's so far away. We're just going to move on. Summer Jam as well. They're still working on information of what's going on. Same thing with NEC. And then finally with CEO, where we're going to kind of wrap it up. Those are the big tournaments that we've briefly talked about, but they're so far away. Either you know them and you're getting ready to plan for them, or we don't even have the details to get ready to travel and plan for them. So with that, thanks for watching, and we finish every episode of just saying the question of, what are you fighting for?